everybody doing? So we are back here. The gurus are back to do the show. So Bobby had this wonderful idea about something called joy frequency. And I was looking into it and it's a very interesting theme. I actually, after looking at it, it was even more interesting than I expected. So there is something called the Hawkins scale of consciousness. And joy has got a vibration or frequency of 540 hertz. So that you understand, the higher the vibration, the better it is, the higher you are in your consciousness. The highest is enlightenment, which is between 700 and 1000 hertz. And the lowest is shame, which is only 20 hertz. So you can see, how does this flow? Things like gratitude, like compassion, creativity, they have the same frequency of joy, meaning 540. Love will have about 500, and neutrality about 250 hertz. And that is, really a scale which was made by Hawkins. So based on this, we're going to talk about joy frequency. So I'll let Jimmy go first, okay?
Hello, girls, and nice to see everybody. And it's a true privilege to be part of this panel. And I know last week we celebrated 100,000 subscribers, and that's pretty impressive. That's impressive for just the grassroots kind of. This whole thing is done by the seat of our pants, and managed by Ella, who's doing a great job. So,
We all
and I think we all have a commitment that unless someone's out of town or has a prior commitment, we're all here, and that level of commitment is displayed in our number of subscribers. So I love how Ella gave we always talk about vibrate at a higher frequency. Now, what does that mean? I guess someone had a gauge and was able to measure these frequencies. And that puts it in ways that we can all understand it. Like your radio, the FM dial is in hertz. And so the higher the frequency, the more pure the feeling. And I just love that. So and we were getting warmed up when we were talking about this. It is in my opinion, that the joy frequency is generated from within. I don't think that if we vibrate at the frequency to create a joyful feeling, we're already there. And so our frequency is commingling with other frequencies of similar hertz. So I don't think that in order to receive a frequency, you need to be vibrating at the same level as that frequency in order to receive it. And an AM radio can't pick up an FM frequency. And if you're on an FM radio, you got to tune into the frequency of the radio station you want. So joy is at the high end of the dial. So you got to get to the high end of the dial where the joy frequency resonates, and then you co-mingle with it in how I see it. You add horsepower to it, So I create my own joy. Raji creates her own joy. Ella and Bobby and so on. Everyone creates their own joy, and not all these joys are at the exact same frequency. It's a bandwidth.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a pinpoint. It's not a laser. It's probably a wide beam between a couple hundred hertz or whatever Ella was talking about. So elevate yourself or perform in ways that is going to generate innate sense of happiness or gratitude, and then you'll raise your vibration and you'll broadcast your joy out into the ethers, and it'll commingle with other folks' joy. So it's not. I don't think it's a laser beam. I think it's like a not maybe like a floodlight kind of thing, not a spotlight.
Yeah.
So good stuff. Good to have everybody here, Ella.
Yeah, and never forget, you said something which for me it's really important. It comes from within.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the feeling of joy is an inside job.
Absolutely. Bobby, your turn.
Oh, thank you. I we talk a lot about quantum energy and vibrations and frequency and elevating ourselves by paying attention to the frequencies that we're emitting. And I was trying to think of a real specific example of that I learned a long time ago when I was a kid growing up in the country. And you know how if you're in a neighborhood walking around, there'll be some dogs that want to rush up and they're barking and they're challenging you to see if you're an intruder. And I remember one of my older neighbors said, "Well, dogs can smell fear." And it's like they can sense that. And when they're barking and running up, they're trying to trigger something. And if they sense it, and the idea that we live in a universe full of energy, we are nothing but energy ourselves. And we have an aura of energy around us. And so a long time ago, I just learned I am just going to be so cool and calm around dogs. And I my son anymore. I think I'm like half dog because I get along so well with them, and it's just that I made that decision. Whenever dog is barking at me, I'm just going to remain calm. I'm not going to go into that shock or fear because they can sense that, and we emit an energy field like that, and dogs can sense it. So it's like that's the thing that we need to first recognize is that if we're all caught up in shame and guilt and anger and resentment and those real hopelessness, those real low frequency things, you emit an energy field like that, and you attract stuff that reinforces that. It's like, yeah, I should be sad and angry and grouchy and bitchy. Yeah, yeah. And you just attract more stuff to keep you there. And so it's a very intentional thing to start raising your vibration. And we talk about gratitude as a way of doing that. And uh, for some reason, when I heard about this, um, I was reminded of an Einstein quote. Uh, and, and the idea, if you can just, the problem is when we talk about this stuff is your eyes can only see a visible light spectrum. You don't see ultraviolet light or infrared light or microwaves. You don't see that stuff. You know it's there, but you can't see it. And it's the same way with sound energy and everything else. We are immersed in this ocean of energy, and we can only perceive just a little bit of it. It doesn't mean it's not out there. And so, one of the Einstein quotes, I don't want to mess it up, is everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get it. This isn't philosophy, it's physics. And there's just no other way. And so I think about how do you, and Jimmy's right, there is a reality in your universe that's labeled joy, my joy. And it's kind of waiting for you to discover that and to elevate yourself up to there. And I don't know. I just think about such simple things this week. Um, I just was feeling a whole lot of joy for the friends that I have. And, life might not be perfect. I might wish my bank account was a little bigger. It's getting cold. The days are getting shorter. And it's like, and when we start doing our show, I've got to start messing with lighting now because I don't have any sunshine. And so, but then but I'm thinking about, oh my God, I have got the best friends I ever had. And I've been working on my neighborhood and my community for years. like a long time ago, I decided as much as possible, I'm going to spend my money in my neighborhood. And if it's with a small business, I'm especially going to try to spend as much of my money as I can with the small businesses in my neighborhood. And even if it costs a little more, and that was a decision I made just decades ago. And just by doing that, I meet everybody. I know all the people that work at my market and the dentist office and the post office, and and I just love being out in my community and talking to people and seeing how things are going. And and I have best friends that I get together with for lunch every week. And just sometimes I have to slow down and realize I have transitioned my way into a kind of joy where I have got the best friends I have ever had, no doubt about it, and I got a lot of them, and that brings me joy, and all of that keeping that frequency up there, and I'm really grateful. So back to you, Ella.
I totally understand you. I do believe that when you have a frequency that you're working on,
Mhm.
the other people have the same
Yeah.
frequency, they come to you. Raji, your turn.
You. Hi, everybody. So good stuff, good stuff. Because I think, well, the phrase that comes to mind when I listen to you all is emotional barometer. Emotional barometer. And, are we as human beings, and I should say, as spirits living the human experience, because
Mhm.
that's the core of us, we all are, we have emotions. We have emotions. If if you are living here on planet Earth and you're a human being, you're going to have emotions. Animals have emotions. It's my mom she loves plants. And growing up, we always had a lot of plants in the house and, outside and everything. And they really make for a nice environment. And my sister and I would tease my mom because when she would water the plants, she would talk to them. And, and she's like, you two are laughing, but plants are energy. They're living energy. And, believe me, they feel the love. And so when we would go away or something like for a long weekend and come back, and they'd be drooping, and then my mom would go over and like water them and like, give them some love, they'd start to perk up. So, yeah, energy is in everything, everything. And as human beings, we have it. And I think it's easy, really, to gauge when you're having emotions that don't make you feel so good. You definitely know that you're on a lower frequency. And when you have emotions that make you feel good, that is the sign or the signal that you are on a higher vibrational frequency. I love how Jimmy first said about joy is from within. You can't get it like outside of you, it's inside. And this to me like rings like really loud in my mind because I have actually had people say to me in my lifetime, "What the hell are you so happy about?" And that is an example of like my joy, me experiencing my joy, but the people around me aren't getting my joy. It has to come from within. And as a matter of fact, my joy happens to be irritating them because they're not having it. And so when Jimmy
Yeah.
said that, it really like rang in my mind. I was like, that's so true. You can't get the joy from outside of you. It is within you. Now you can do things to help you feel joy. And those things would be things that make you feel good. Doing things that you enjoy. If you like listening to a certain type of music, play the music. You like that hot bubble bath at night, take time to take that hot bubble bath. Going for a walk, doing the things that you love, hobbies, going to the beach, whatever activities help you to feel joy, by all means do them. Prayer, meditation, very important. Those are other things that can get your frequency and your vibration up. Um, but I don't want to come off to our viewers like, oh, it's just so easy. It
Right.
can be easy. It can be easy. But, if you're going through some hard times and, things in your life might be a little effed up right now, maybe it's not as easy for you to get into that feeling or that state of joy, that state of bliss. It may be a little challenging, but it's not impossible. And one last thing I'm going to say is something that I do, and we talk about this all the time, different shows, we mention it. When I'm feeling down about my life, about the things that are going on, I stop and I say to myself, Raji, what are the things that you, even though crap is really not going right or you're upset about something, there has to be some things in your life that you're grateful for. And then they start to come to mind. And then I start to express gratitude for it. And that alone will help to lift you up and get you out of your funky mood. Back to you, Ella.
I love what my sisters are saying because it's so true. Everything is absolutely incredibly true and interesting. I would just like to say that these vibrations are really quite an important part of our life. I do totally agree that we live in a world which is actually made of vibrations, of frequencies. And it is really quite interesting as well that even if you are at a different level of frequency, sometimes someone which is near you, you can just see how that vibration is coming along. I've seen people, for example, which are very negative, and they bring the very low vibration into the world, and it actually repulses me. On the other side, people which have got a similar vibration as I do, I feel attracted to them. I'm not saying that I'm taking over their vibrations because I don't think that you can do that. You can only make your own, but you can conversate or, discuss or be at the same level as someone else. I do believe that you really have to work hard to get your vibrations correctly. I do agree with Raji that sometimes prayer, meditation, all these things will bring up your vibration. I mean, one of these days, actually, a couple of days ago, I had a really kind of stupid day because everything was going wrong. And I was just noticing that, it's the wrong type of vibration around me. It's the wrong type of thing. So you know what I just did? I closed my computer, closed everything, went to the living room, just had a little 10-minute rest.
Ooh, yeah.
Got a little bit of peacefulness within inside me. And things somehow they just, got back into shape. Not that it was an explosion of everything going into shape at the same time, but things were getting better and I was feeling better. And even your reaction, when you have a high vibration, when your reaction to something which is negative is actually better because you just ignore it or you just deal with it in a way which is, you just take it as it comes. Something that Bobby told as well, which I found absolutely, is about dogs and animals recognizing your vibration. I do think, well, they are living beings. Plants are living beings. Hey, they recognize as well your vibration. If you are happy, your plants grow better. I can show you that. But we live actually in a world which is just composed of vibrations. Everything is a vibration. When you touch yourself, you're touching a vibration. So everything is, and all living things understand what's going on around them intuitively, or you can measure it probably, I don't know. But sometimes you can actually measure people's vibrations when they're next to you just by the way they are. It's really quite incredible. And it's always nice that you talk with someone with the same vibration as you, and you are in a kind of cohesiveness and happiness together. I found that very, very important. In my business, I think that we are in that business, we are all more or less at the same vibration, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a bit less, but we've got this power of communicating something which is complex in a very simple way because we understand each other very, very nicely. And it happens to me with many of my sisters and brothers from another mother. Including
That's funny.
those four here, those three. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting attitude to life, to keep joy, to have joy, to live in an I vibration, compassion, inclusive, because that's what makes you happy and gives you balance.
Ella, I just want to say something as what you said about the other day, everything was going haywire, and you just stopped, you shut things down, and you went in the living room and you just took a little like power nap. What you did was you rebooted, you reset. And then you said when you got up and you noticed like a shift. Everything didn't all come together right away, but you noticed like a shift in momentum. And I think that's so powerful. I listen to Esther Hicks Abraham a lot, and they talk about that because what happens is it's almost like an avalanche or like a domino effect. If things are going screwy and then you're upset about that, then the next things come and you're upset about that, and it just continues to go. And so if you can find a way to like put it put a stop to it and reset yourself, it's so powerful. And she will always say, go take a nap. She'll say that when if you can't get your vibration the way you want, if go take a nap and reboot. So that when you said that reminded me of her.
I think that is very important. And I think it's a very important thing too, is that you have a kind of a shield towards the bad vibrations, which some people try to send to you, because that is, um, you know, it's just, you're trying to protect yourself, you're trying to survive.
Okay, so let me just say a few things here. What I found in my life, let's go back to what Ella was talking about in her opening, where enlightenment is upwards of 1,000 hertz. So I've seen this in my mind's eye. The Buddhist monks in the Himalaya mountains are vibrating at such a high level that they're levitating off the ground 6 feet. What frequency is that? I don't know. But what I do know is that there's our individual frequency, and then there's the collective frequency or the collective consciousness.
Yep.
Our frequency, another word for frequency, is consciousness. So there's the collective consciousness. And so you walk into a room, a priest walks into a room of jail felons. The energy of the room immediately elevates. So we have the ability to elevate the collective frequency. And I think that's the job of gurus, is to teach people how to do that. All ships rise in high tide. So if we broadcast at a high, if we vibrate or aura, I heard that word mentioned tonight. If we broadcast or we live in a high vibration, that is going to influence the collective consciousness. And see, all people evolve at different times. You know, a Buddhist monk wasn't born a Buddhist monk. They developed to that level. So if people are on a journey of spiritual development and maturity, you're bound to get there eventually. It may not be this lifetime, but you'll get there.
Mhm.
So as gurus, a guru is a teacher to try to influence or teach people, give people tools necessary to elevate their frequency. And this is what we're doing here. So, and another thing too, Rod, you mentioned prayer, meditation, and exercise. I find that daily rigorous exercise elevates my. I park my car. But when I arrive at the gym, I park. There's a lot of areas to park. I'm in a certain mindset. I park my car. I walk out of the gym. I'm a totally different person. I don't even know where the hell my car is, because I'm a different person. And I think about that from time to time. It takes me a minute, like, where did I park the car? Because I'm different than when I walked in. So, and we're coming up on just about 30 minutes right now, Ella.
Bobby, you go.
Yeah, I just love talking about things like this with you all, and things that matter. And kind of the big picture is that Jimmy's right. We are here trying to lift all the ships, because God knows we need some lifting right now. And I'm just so grateful to be able to do this. And you know, I know some of you could be saying, well, you don't understand how bad my life is. I just lost this person or this love or those sort of things, financial ruin. And it's like, oh yeah, we none of us get away with a perfect life, and we all know what it's like to outlive somebody we love or to be rejected by someone we had high hopes with. And it's like, how do you, instead of just stewing in that stuff, it's like, how do you find your way from that into love? And one of the things I do is I just reframe those things, instead of being so sad and down that this has ended and it'll never happen again. I get really grateful that it ever happened in the first place. It's like, oh my gosh, how when I look at where my life had been and pathways, like, and we crossed and everything changed, and it's like I am just really amazed that some of these things ever happened to me. And I can start becoming grateful, and then that lifts me up. And then the other thing I was thinking about was a Jim Carrey quote where he says the opposite of depression is not happiness, the opposite of depression is expression. And and Ella had mentioned that in the beginning, all the things that are vibrating around that 400 hertz mark, with joy was there, but creativity was there too. And that's exactly right. If depression, the opposite of that is expression. So that's another way you can start working your way into a better way of feeling. What do they say in it's easier to act your way into a better way of feeling than it is to feel your way into a better way of acting. And that's some old wisdom there. So, anyhow, with that, I'll pass it back to you, Ella.
Okay, with those words, because we are over the, I mean, we are just on the limit. Let's just say a very fast word and then afterwards shut down, okay? Jimmy, you go first.
Yes, ma'am. So how I live my life is, if it doesn't elevate humanity, if it doesn't contribute for the betterment of humanity, I don't think it, I don't speak it, and I don't do it. Ella.
Bobby?
Oh, well, I just think about what I mentioned how much I love my community and what I put out there, and I expect joy to return, and so I'm expecting good things to happen every day. Now that has not been true for a good chunk of my life, but it is now because I've learned so much from you all and I put it in practice. And what we're talking about really works, and that's why we're eager to share it.
Mhm.
So, thank
Right.
you.
I believe that we all come to the world, to the planet, to add to it in positive ways. That's what we do every week by doing Trans Gurus. When I post things online, I'm always putting positivity out there for anyone that is able to receive it. Will say this though, birds of a feather flock together. So, if you're walking on a high frequency, high vibration, you will know when you're around people that are in low vibration. And I get this a lot where I feel like I'm being like pulled down. So you do have to protect yourself. And I do that. I tend to gravitate to people that are vibrating at my frequency. And I just send the low vibration people away with love. And in their own time, hopefully they'll evolve and get to that level. But I do believe, like I said, we come to the world to contribute in positive ways. And that's what I try to do. And I try to lift the vibrational frequency of existence by putting out positivity. So like my thing is, we all want to leave the world better than we found it. Ella.
I totally agree with you. Okay, with those words, I think that we are finished for today. It was really great theme, I think. It was really incredible. I hope that everybody which is listening to us, they go and rise their vibrations to enlightenment. And that would be really absolutely beautiful. And next week, listen again to Transgurus. Come again. Bye, everybody.
Love, peace, and blessings.
Namaste. Bye.